Hello, and welcome to Bessemer and Lake Erie 902. We are in Avon, New York, as the Livonia, Avon, and Lakeville Railroad arrives in town with a C420 high hood and a C425 in the trail. Today, the LA&L would be switching one of their largest customers, B&LE America, located on the north side of Avon. Here we see the locomotives as they pull into the staging yard for cars bound for B&LE. Moving to the spur leading to B&LE, ALCO smoke can be seen as the two ALCOs work hard to bring outbound cars up the grade. Standing in the heart of Avon is the former Erie Railroad Depot, designed by Bradford Lee Gilbert and built in 1879. The depot last saw service on September 28, 1947. Now let's watch as the cars bound for Rochester, New York are shoved onto a track, ready to be picked up by the northbound road train the following day. Leading today's switching moves is ALCO C425, number 425, which came to the Livonia, Avon, and Lakeville in 1981. This locomotive was built in 1965 for the New Haven Railroad. After going to the Penn Central and then Conrail, the locomotive has now serviced the LA&L longer than any of the three previous owners. Having dropped their inbound cars at B&LE, the engines now continue south towards Lakeville, where they will be put away for the day. It is the morning of June 24th, 2021, and we are stationed in Sodus, New York on the Ontario Midland Railroad. Here we see high hood ALCO RS-36 number 408 being readied for its tasks of the day. In Sodus, the Ontario Midland boasts a two-stall engine house used to house its classic roster of ALCO locomotives, featuring an ALCO S4, RS-36, and RS-11. Ontario Midland number 408 was built in 1962 for the Norfolk and Western Railroad. The unit was acquired by the Ontario Midland over 40 years ago and was renumbered as number 40. However, later on the locomotive was returned to its original number as number 408, reminiscent of the Norfolk and Western number the locomotive held. Much like the LA&L 425, this locomotive has also continued to serve the Ontario Midland for far longer than it did the Norfolk and Western. This locomotive, reaching almost 60 years, can still be found on the high iron, making money for a small short line company in New York. After coming outside of the engine house, RS-36 number 408 has now hooked up to 3 cars bound for CSX's Rochester subdivision in Newark, New York, the southern terminus of the Ontario Midland. Now let's watch as 408 departs Sodus with its 3 cars in tow. The Ontario Midland Railroad was established on October 1, 1979, to operate neglected trackage in Monroe and Wayne counties. Before becoming an independent railroad in 1993, the OMID once had corporate relationships with the Ontario Central Railroad, the Ontario Eastern Railroad, and the Allegheny Southern Railroad, branded under Ontario lines. Today, the Ontario Midland owns trackage east from Webster to Wolcott and south from Wallington to Newark. However, trains rarely run west of Williamson or east of North Rose. Arriving at the north side of Newark, the train is now just 1 mile from the CSX interchange, where all 3 cars will be dropped off. After dropping off its cars, the wispy white smoke of RS-36 number 408 can be seen in the distance. As the train continued north, they would stop at each crossing, cleaning the dirt out from the cracks of the crossing, using the locomotive's onboard air compressor. We would view this light locomotive one more time as it approaches Fairville Station Road, a few miles outside of Newark, New York. Returning to the Livonia, Avon, and Lakeville Railroad, we see the LA&L's road freight shoving out of the Rochester and Southern Books Yard. Upon departing Rochester, trains must shove out of the yard before reaching Genesee Junction, where the LA&L's main line begins. From Genesee Junction, the train will continue on to switch some cars bound for CSX before departing town. Moving to Genesee Junction, we see the LA&L road freight as it comes south, having picked up some more cars bound for Avon. At this point on the railroad, the tracks share a bridge with CSX's bypass route, named the West Shore, which bypasses the town of Rochester. Now let's watch as the train crosses the bridge in major backlighting. As the train comes into Avon, New York, it will slow and stop to drop the first cut of cars in its consist. These cars are bound for Barilla, where a light power move will once again come up to Avon to shove these cars into the spur. After dropping inbound cars to Barilla, the engines come light power past the rest of their train to hook on and continue for Lakeville. The crew had a large audience for their switching moves, with patrons of Duffy's Tavern hosted in the old Erie Depot watching on. The LA&L came to be in 1964 when the trackage's then owner, Erie Lackawanna, threatened to abandon the trackage south of Avon, New York. However, the residents of Livonia, New York, led by Chester A. Hack, decided to purchase the line for $13,000, thus creating the Livonia, Avon, and Lakeville Railroad. Eventually, a team track to Lakeville was built, and the line south of Lakeville to Livonia was abandoned. In 1996, the trackage north from Avon to Genesee Junction in Rochester was purchased from Conrail. Up until this date, the LA&L interchanged with Conrail in Avon, New York, in the very yards seen in this clip. Over the years, much maintenance and track work has been done on the LA&L as new customers continue to pop up along the line, making the LA&L one of New York's premier western short lines. Today, the Livonia, Avon, and Lakeville is the parent company to two other short lines, the Bath and Hammondsport, which was the former Champlain Railroad acquired in the late 1990s, and the Western New York and Pennsylvania, formed in 2001 and under LA&L control. Entering its 56th year of operation, the LA&L has a very bright future ahead of it, with plenty of railroad traffic along the Rochester area. With the train arriving in Lakeville, the southern terminus of the LA&L, our day is now finished with the LA&L. We thank you for watching Bessemer and Lake Erie 902, and we hope you enjoy this ALCO action from the Rochester, New York area. As always, happy rail fanning and train chasing.